Way to go, Tic Tac!
That's how you punch.
Wakanda forever!
Nah, you wouldn't have heard of me.
Let me put you on hold.
Dance off, bro! He's a friend from work!
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
What up, guys? It's Dom, and welcome back to another movie review. Today we are going over and ranking The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club, released in 1985, written and directed by John Hughes. 5 high school students meet in Saturday detention and discover how they have a great deal more in common than they thought. Now, before this, I never watched this movie. It was actually my girlfriend that suggested it. She watched it, she loved it, she thought it would be something that I enjoyed, and it definitely was. So without further ado, let's just get right into the 10 essential aspects of a movie. The first essential aspect is plot. So I thought the plot of this movie was very interesting, mainly because, it's all confined in one space. It's just one day, Saturday detention, they're just in the school, and for the most part, they're just in the library. So I was thinking, like, how can this movie be very entertaining and interesting if it's really just confined in one space? And I was very pleasantly surprised. They knew what they were doing. They made this a really good movie, and they didn't have any other scenes really other than in the library or in the halls. And I thought that was really cool because I was comparing it to almost how I felt in high school, and that these kids really were dealing with the same stuff that a lot of people deal with, and seeing how they bond at the end because they realize they have all these connections. I just thought the movie was less so, it was entertaining, but it was less so about the entertainment and more about the premise and how interesting the movie was. The second essential aspect is attraction. I definitely think this movie was attractive. I was really sucked in and interested in hearing all these characters' backstories and how they compare to each other and just the conversations they were having. I think the conversations were the most important part because it did feel like real high schoolers, and you were trying, and like I said in plot, I was really trying to compare how my high school life was compared to theirs. So I think they did a really good job with getting the audience involved with the movie and getting them to really pay attention. The third essential aspect is theme. Now, the whole theme of this movie was that everybody has their own problems. Now, just because you are different than someone else doesn't mean that you don't either have similar problems or problems at all, because all of these kids had their own issues, and they weren't always the same issues, but they came to realize that no issue is really worse than the other, or I guess less worse than the other is really what they were going for. But either way, all these people had issues, and they realized, okay, so instead of just me saying, no, I had the worst life, no, I had the worst life, they really just decided, you know what? We all had bad lives, but let's make them better. And they just started bonding. And I think that was the main theme of this movie and the main message it was trying to come across. The fourth essential aspect is dialogue. So I think the dialogue might even be the most important part and the best part about this movie. Now, I'm going to go over it later in acting as well, but there was only 7 main characters in this movie, and that was the principal, the janitor, and the 5 students. So dialogue was very important because you constantly are seeing the same people. So if they don't do a good job with making it feel real, either through acting or dialogue, it can really suck you out and ruin most of the movie, since every single time you'll see them, you're like, well, here's another bad line. But no, I feel like everyone in this movie felt real. The students felt like students, dialogue-wise, and same with the principal and the janitor. It just all felt like real people having these conversations. And that definitely made the movie 100 times better because that helped me compare myself to these characters. The fifth essential aspect is acting. So just like I said in dialogue, I'm just going to continue here. So obviously there was the main 7 characters, but the acting that they did really did feel real. I felt like every single one of the students felt like students, and same with the principal and even the janitor. They all felt like real people, which helped me connect to them. And I'm going to talk about who those people are. So Emilio Estevez, who played Andrew, I feel like he was the only one that I could almost see past the acting, and really he looked like the oldest. He didn't look like a senior in high school. He looked like he could have been in college or like mid-20s. So I didn't really pay much attention to that, and it was only some scenes with specific lighting that made him seem kind of older. But other than that, everyone else, Anthony Michael Hall, who played Brian, Judd Nelson, who played John, Molly Ringwald, who played Claire, and Ali Sheedy, who played Allison, they all felt like students. And they were the ones that I mainly wanted to talk about because they were the main focal point of this movie, and they did an outstanding job. And again, I'm going to keep repeating myself because of how good they did it. they just literally felt like students that you can find at a high school in the 80s. So I think they absolutely rocked it, and the acting and dialogue is really what carried this movie for me. The sixth essential aspect is cinematography. So when it came to looking wise for cinematography, I feel like it was okay. It looked like it was just in a school. It was really cool that they were in one scene the whole time. That I do have to give them credit for, because that is harder to do that in a movie. But when it came to emotions for cinematography, I thought they did really good because the characters felt so real. I got connected with them, and it made me feel for them. So when, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but when certain events happened towards the end, I really felt happy for them. I was enjoying this next thing that happens in their life. I thought that since you were connected to the character so well, the cinematography really did shine in those moments. The seventh essential aspect is editing. The Breakfast Club is an hour and 37 minutes long. I think they put that right on the tee. That's right where it needs to be, because it's just Saturday detention and it's just in one area. They can't push it so long, because if this was like a 2-hour movie, a 2.5-hour movie, it would be crazy to just see them in the same place doing the same thing over and over again, and that might ruin the movie. But because they kept it short and sweet, that's very good, because now you have time to really invest in these characters, but you don't get overwhelmed by the length of the movie. So I think they paced it really well. They ended it really well. I just think the editing overall was very good. The eighth essential aspect is soundtrack. Now the soundtrack, amazing 80s soundtrack. Just literally right when the movie started, I found myself bopping my head to the soundtrack. So obviously amazing. The ninth essential aspect is directing. Now I think it's the job of the director to take these previous 8 essential aspects, put them together to make a movie that's worth watching. And the director of this movie is John Hayes, and this was his second movie that he directed. His first one was 16 Candles, and I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it, but based off of this one, with having little experience of just one movie, he did a fantastic job. I mean, I kind of want to see 16 Candles just to see what that's about. Maybe that did take a part in making this movie so good, but I mean, it's one movie in the belt is not much experience, so the fact he did this with little experience, hats off to you, my friend. And the 10th essential aspect is time. Will this movie stand the test of time? I mean, it already has. This movie's 39 years old. This movie is almost next year, this movie is going to be 40 years old. That's crazy. And it's still a lot of people's top movies. Like, everyone talks about this movie. That's why I decided to finally do it. And it's a good one. So yes, it 100% stood the test of time, and it will continue to stand the test of time. Now, on to the reviews. So, Rotten Tomatoes critics give it an 89%, Rotten Tomatoes audience gave it a 92%, and IMDb gave it a 78%. Now, I think these are all in a great spot, because I understand the 92%. It's an amazing movie. I definitely understand why people rated that. And I also understand 78%, because it's still a good movie, but it's not perfect. And that's why I really agree with the Rotten Tomatoes critics the most, because I believe it deserves to be in that mid to high 80s. I think it's an amazing movie. It covers a lot of very strong topics that not a lot of people go over in movies. They really cover all of them. And I think that was a genius idea, because kids have these problems, and it's almost like an outlet to really hear someone else talk about it. So I think this movie was good on an even deeper level than most movies, so it's got to be up there. So I'm thinking 89 is a pretty good one. And finally, the rankings. Where will The Breakfast Club rank in its year, decade, and in all time? Let's find out, starting with 1985. It's going to be first. It's the only movie I reviewed in this year, so until I do more, it's going to be the only one there. In the 1980s, it's going to be first as well, above The Thing. And this one, so I loved The Thing. I think the concept's really interesting. The plot's really interesting. I think everything about the movie is good. The only reason that I put The Breakfast Club above it was, well, more than one reason, but the main reason is I just think The Breakfast Club looks better. Because yes, it's the 80s, so obviously there isn't like crazy cinematography and everything, so the monster didn't look as good. I just feel like it could have looked a little better. And also I just feel like the concept of The Breakfast Club and everything they went over was a little more interesting than The Thing. Not by much. I love The Thing. I think it's an amazing movie and the concept's very interesting. I just think The Breakfast Club is slightly above it. And in all time, it's going to be 9th, above Megamind and below Logan. So it's above Megamind by a hair. Because originally, actually, I originally ranked it and putting it below Megamind, but then when I was writing my notes for the movie review, I decided, you know what, I can't do that. The Breakfast Club deserves to be ninth, so I moved it up, and here we are. So it is going to be above Megamind, and it's not by much. I feel like they're so close. I just feel like I can relate more with the Breakfast Club, which is why I put it above, because I was more invested in the plot. And it's below Logan because Logan is an amazing movie. I think the acting is incredible. I love the concept. I am a Marvel guy, so that character really resonates with me as well. So the one thing Breakfast Club really has is the topics that it goes over. That's really what it has above Logan. But otherwise, I'm more entertained by Logan. I think the acting is just as good, if not better. And the characters are very interesting along with the whole world that they're in. So again, all of these top 10 are pretty close and relatively could be moved around, but this is just where I feel like I felt right about where I put this. That's all I have for the Breakfast Club. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. Make sure to comment what movie you want me to review next. Also, make sure to go check out my best friend, Mr. Majoritarian. We're going to be trying to review the same movies, especially once a week, the ones that are in theaters, because we kind of want to be more collaborated in our channels, because he is the reason that I started movie reviewing in the first place. But either way, go check him out. His link is always going to be in the description. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace out.